Hey everyone, it's Mark. This is my recap for Pokémon Journeys episode 32, Celebi, A Timeless Promise. This was the 1117th episode of the Pokémon anime, and the first ever episode that Ash played no part in. But anyways, who cares about that? The new opening theme is where all the headlines are today, so let's dive into that first. I'm not going to touch on everything in this intro, but I'll highlight the stuff I found most interesting. The first point of interest was Chloe's main appearance in the opening, where she was pictured with Ash and Go, but still very much separate from the two of them. We've seen plenty of development with Chloe lately, but it looks like she is still very much a secondary character, while Ash and Go are the main protagonists. We get a shot of all the different box art legendaries from every region, including Zacian and Zamazenta. Later, there was a shot of the shrine and the slumbering Weald, so it's all but certain that Ash and Go will likely interact with the legendary Sword and Shield Pokemon in the same way that the player character and Hop do in the games. There was an additional clip of the 3 Kanto legendary birds, which seemed a little odd to me, but maybe we'll have some tie-in to the Galarian forms of the legendary birds set to come out with the Crown Tundra DLC. Team Rocket are featured with their Gotcha machine, which basically confirms that they're not going to be catching any Pokemon of their own this series, which is super disappointing. Ash and Go appear with their Pokemon, and this shot includes Mr. Mime and Yamper alongside Ash, even though I don't think they're official members of his team or anything, unless something changes. This is reflected in one of the last shots of the intro, which shows Ash's team to be the main 5 that he currently has: Pikachu, Dragonite, Gengar, Riolu, and Farfetch'd. Opposite of him, we see that Go has his 2 mains in Reboot and Sobble, his 3rd most used Pokemon in Scyther, as well as a Heracross that I'll probably trade for in next week's episode. More on that later when I discuss the preview. However, most notably in this shot is the Flygon that appears on Go's team. There have been rumors the last couple weeks that Ash may end up with a Flygon on his team, but it looks like Go will be the one catching a Flygon. Leanne and Rayhan appear multiple times throughout the opening, and it looks like they will both be making many more appearances throughout Pokémon Journeys, judging by all of the images of them together with Ash and Go. We all figured that Ash is inevitably going to battle Leon one day, but it looks like he's in for a match against Rayhan as well somewhere down the line. Now, let's get to the 2 most interesting parts of the new opening, starting with this picture of the Darkest Day and Eternamax Eternatus. This scene looks very similar to how the Darkest Day played out on top of the Hammerlock Gym in the games. However, we've already seen hints of Ash and Go's involvement in the Darkest Day storyline, and their dual protagonist relationship mirrors the story of the 2 heroes in Sword and Shield. The potentially even more exciting thing in this image is Ash's Lucario and Go's Cinderace. We all knew that eventually these 2 would evolve, but it looks like they will be prominently featured as Ash and Go's strongest Pokemon that they used to fight against Eternatus. Lucario even looks to be ahead of Pikachu in this frame, so maybe it will take over as Ash's strongest Pokemon by the end of this series. Lastly, the intro included Ash's Alolan friends, minus Lily. These were the only returning characters featured in this opening, but if these guys are returning, that opens the door for many more of Ash's former friends to return as well. Alola is the only region that Ash hasn't returned to yet in Pokémon Journeys, not counting the Orange Islands or the Decolor Islands, so it was only a matter of time before he returned there. I wouldn't have been surprised if the anime had totally trolled us by not including Ash's friends when he went back to Alola, but this seems to confirm that they'll be returning at some point in the near future. Mallow has clearly got her Z-Ring on as well, so hopefully we'll get to see a short-lived return of Z-moves in the anime, since we already got to see Mega Evolution make its return with Karina a few episodes ago. Okay, and those were all the highlights of the new opening. Like I said, I didn't go over everything that we saw, but those were the most notable things. As for the actual song, I like the new vocals, but I don't think that they're any better or worse than the original version of the opening. Overall, I really enjoyed this one, but I still prefer most of the XY openings and the last 2 Sun and Moon Japanese openings better. Leave a comment below and let me know what you guys think about the new opening and everything that we saw in it. And now let's move on over to this week's episode, which is actually what we're here to talk about. Alright, so Ash and Go are... oh wait, there is no Ash this week. This was the first ever episode of the Pokemon anime without Ash and Pikachu in it at all, which is definitely notable. With Go being a main protagonist alongside Ash in Pokemon Journeys, it's only fair that he gets his share of the spotlight without Ash sometimes. It also makes sense that an episode featuring Celebi was one that Ash would miss out on, since he's had several run-ins with Celebi in the past already. Could this episode also be a sign of the future of the anime, where they carry on without Ash being a main character? That's just speculation at this point, but I really hope that's not the case. Anyways, Go is in Azalea Town with his parents, and they're renting out a cottage that they had stayed at 3 years ago. His parents, who seem to overwork themselves at their jobs, just go straight to sleep the instant that they arrive, leaving Go on his own to do some exploring. He sets out to catch some Johto Pokemon, but he's quickly overcome with the memories of what happened the last time he went on vacation here 3 years ago. Nearly the next 15 whole minutes of the episode are focused on this flashback Go has, in which he relives the same memories of running through the forest before he eventually meets Tokyo, a boy from Cianwood City who's looking for Celebi. The two of them get along pretty quickly as they begin searching for Celebi together, and both of them are very knowledgeable about Pokemon, especially for 7-year-olds. They talk about different species of Pokemon, and the two of them even know about legendaries from other regions. They eventually make their way into Ilex Forest. It was interesting for the anime to have Go explore Ilex Forest, since Ash had traveled through it before during the original series, but at no point was the forest related to Celebi at that point in time, since they had just got done writing Celebi out of the story with the whole GS Ball debacle. Go and Tokyo try and make their way through to the Ilex Forest Shrine, but Go needs to run back to get the Sunflora from the cottage to help them get through the forest. Throughout this whole scene, we see Go and Tokyo continue to grow closer as friends, and Go says a lot of mushy stuff about never giving up and not breaking promises. They reach a hillside where they have to call off their search for the day, and we get this really beautiful looking shot from it. I haven't seen an image this striking from the Pokemon anime in a while, so I thought I'd highlight it here. I guess this is where the drama or conflict of the episode happens, if you can even call it that, since the two of them promise to meet up again tomorrow in order to keep searching for the shrine and Celebi. Cue the ominous weather, and Go doesn't see Tokyo the next day. It starts pouring rain, and Go never sees Tokyo again. He specifically says that this was their first and last meeting, so I'm kind of surprised that this has had such an effect on Go. That was probably my biggest criticism of this whole episode, which is that I didn't really understand why Go was so torn up about this friend that he had known for literally just one afternoon. Back in the present day, Go cuts through Ilex Forest again, angrily catching Ariados and Pineco, the same Pokemon that he ran into with Tokyo 3 years ago. He eventually finds the shrine to Celebi, which has a note in it, an apology written by Tokyo explaining that he got sick and that's why he couldn't meet up with Go 3 years ago. Of course, just then, in the most obvious move of all time, what a coincidence, Tokyo then just happens to show up right at that exact moment. And the two reunite as, oh, what is that, Celebi? Okay, fair enough. This whole episode was about Celebi, so I guess it makes sense that it would be here. Wait, there's two Celebi and one of them is shiny? Okay, these fateful encounters didn't do anything for me. In fact, they were kind of frustrating. Of course, Tokyo, who I thought was from Cianwood City, so how are they here now, just happens to be here 3 years later at the exact same time that Go is. Okay, no explanation given there, but Go is happy to see them. Then, the Celebi appearing makes sense since they're in Ilex Forest and kind of the whole point of the episode was a search for Celebi, but did we really need the second one there as well? Legendaries just don't feel as special to me when there's more than one of them, and I thought for a second that the shiny Celebi, which by the way was an obvious reference to the shiny Celebi that's going to be in Pokemon the movie Coco, I thought that this was actually going to be Mew transformed, just like the Lugia that appeared 12 episodes ago. Then, the episode just ends. That was it. And I doubt we're going to hear or see Tokyo ever again, so I'm still left wondering why this was all so important to Go, and how they just happened to reappear and reunite at the exact same time. Okay, unfortunately, I'm giving this episode a 4 out of 10 rating. Maybe I'm just being harsh, but this episode just did not do anything for me. At the beginning, I was drawn into the premise that Go was going to be alone with his Pokemon and go on his own adventure, no Ash or anyone else, but I ended up feeling pretty underwhelmed by the end of the episode. I was left with more questions than I was answers, and I don't think I'll ever get the answers to my questions. The whole idea of Go reliving the memories of this event from 3 years ago was promising, but what was the point of any of this? We still know basically nothing about Go's friend Tokyo, or why Go was so affected by their broken promise, which was just a simple misunderstanding. And then 2 random Celebi showed up, but they didn't even reveal themselves to Go. The only things that I really took away from this episode in a positive way are that Go is really knowledgeable about Pokemon, he never breaks a promise, and he's really confident in what the future holds. Nothing groundbreaking there, we already knew most of that. I wouldn't really consider anything that happened in this episode as character development or growth, since Go just so happened to see Tokyo again and all's well that ends well, right? I think this is my most negative episode review yet. I don't know guys, maybe it was just the juxtaposition of the new epic intro that had so much hype and excitement around it, and it got me so excited for what's to come, only for the actual episode to just be slow and rather uneventful. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Did you guys enjoy it, or do you agree with me? The next episode is going to be about trading Pokemon, and it looks like Go is about to trade one of his Pokemon for a Heracross. I doubt Ash will be trading anything himself, but we'll see what ends up happening next week. This looks like it could be a fun episode, but I wonder if there will be any surprises at all. I remember back in the original series when Ash and friends ran into a trading event in Johto, which coincidentally also happened to take place directly following an episode in Ilex Forest. And this episode was the one that Jessie accidentally got her Wobbuffet traded to her. I wonder if that will get referenced at all. That's all I've got to say about this episode, but if you haven't already, check out my most recent video about Pokemon anime trivia facts. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, clearly you like the Pokemon anime, so go ahead and give that one a watch. Before you leave, make sure to give this one a like, subscribe to my channel, and let me hear your thoughts about this week, as well as your predictions for the next week's episode in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.